Okay, so what I want to show you right now is how to make something a little bit more elaborate than the first board, which is just basic squares. And we're going to make something that has these sort of curved or warped edges. Again, this board is very tiny. I scaled it down small. I didn't really need to make anything big for this demonstration, but I can scale it up in either LibreCAD or RDworks. Either one is just fine for that. So let's go ahead and get started. So here I am in LibreCAD. I'm going to be working a lot with grids, so I have my grids turned on. My snap is turned on. And what I want to do is I want to start building a basic sort of frame, something that's going to be my template, my guide. And I'm going to make it so that each tile of the chessboard is about 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters, okay? And so that's going to be 20 millimeters by 20 millimeters. So I'm going to start that way by making a simple square. So I'm going to go down to my origin. And if you look at these numbers right here, this will give me my size. So I want 20 by 20. Pretty small there. Okay, now I'm going to zoom in on that. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to make a whole grid of these. The chessboard is 8 by 8. So I am now going to hit escape, which gives me my select tool. I'm going to select it. And now I'm going to go ahead and copy it. I'm going to choose my anchor point, and I'm going to drag it to its destination point. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and select multiple. And in this case, I want a total of 8. I have the original, so it means I need 7 more. So do that. And now I've got my first grid. Now I hit escape, and I'm going to select all of these. And again, I'm going to make a copy. And I'm going to take my anchor point right here. I'm going to put it right up there. And once again, I want 7 more copies, so I end up with an 8 by 8. And voila. Okay, I've got my working grid. Okay, this is going to be my template, my guide. So now I want to do the warp. Pardon me 1 second. I just got a text. Let me check it. Okay, I'm back. So now what I want to do is I want to start drawing the curves so that I can actually make my sort of warped board. So to do that, I'm going to create another layer. All right, so I'm going to go over here. I'm going to add a layer, and I'm going to call this my board layer. And I'm going to make it cyan. It stands up nicely against the black. And what I want to do is I want to start by drawing my origin lines. So if you look at the original, you can see that the center is actually a straight line, and then it curves increasingly as it gets out further from the center. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to start by drawing a 2-point line. I'm in the board layer, all right, so it's going to draw a cyan line. And I went from point to point. Notice it still wants to draw more, so to end it, I'm just going to go ahead and right-click it. Now I'm going to do the same thing down here, and click it up to there, and I'm going to end it. Okay, and now I've got my sort of straight lines for the center of the board. Now I'm going to make my first curve, and the way I'm going to do that is I want to go, this is a little harder to do on the smaller screen. Oops, I did not want to do that. I'm going to cancel that. I want to do a curve, so I'm going to choose this 3-point curve, and I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to zoom in, and I think I'm going to go in 2 units. Let's see, 1, 2, and then I go down here, and I connect it to the bottom, like so. And then the next one, I'm going to go in 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to come up here and connect it at that point. And on this one, I'm going to go in 6 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Connect it down there. And then the last one will go in 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'll connect it there. Okay. And I'll do the same thing. So those are the verticals. I'll do the same thing on this side. But now I'll start on this horizontal, work my way, and then I'll pause it and finish it off so you don't have to watch me draw them all. It'll be kind of boring. So we'll click here. I'm going to zoom in 2, 1, 2, and then out here. And then this one's going to be 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You got the idea. So why don't I pause this and I will draw all the rest of these curved lines. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I've finished drawing all of my cyan curves, and to get a better feel for it, we'll just turn off visibility to this first layer, and you can see that I have my nice curves. This one's 8 notches in, 6, 4, 2, and of course 0, so we have 0, 0, and it's my center axes. So now what we need to do is we need to cut all these little bits off of here, okay, this excess edge. And we're going to use the trim tool for that, which is right here. Okay, click on that. And you can see it says select the limiting entity. So what you want to do is you want to select the line that's going to do the cutting, and it turns gray. And then you want to select the piece you want to save. So I just go along here, and I want to save all these pieces. All right, and then I'm going to right click it, and I'm going to select a new one, and let's save this. Right click, select the new cutting edge, save these. Right click, select the new cutting edge, save these. Okay, cool. So now what we need to do is we need to break these into individual bits, because what we're going to do is we want to be able to create boxes. So remember on RDworks, if I have an enclosed box and I make it all one color, I could then choose to fill that box up with a scan. So we're going to make it sort of a solid, so we can make a light and a dark. Okay? And this is a little tedious, but we'll still go through the moves here. I'm going to zoom in a bit. What we want to do is we want to start chopping this line up at each individual point, and that's done with the divide tool. So we find the divide, okay, and you specify the entity you want to cut, okay. Well, I want to cut this line, and I want to cut it. Oh, notice how I actually want to select this line, okay. Well, that's getting hard to do because I'm only on Snap to Grid. So I'm going to go down here and choose another grid. I can choose intersection. Or I can choose, for example, on the line, which is Snap on Entity. All right. And by doing so, I can then select the cutting point, which is going to be right here. And then if I select this line again, so now I'm going to select the entity to cut. Notice how this is blue and this is gray. Okay. Now if I select here, it's going to cut. And now this is gray and this is blue. Okay. So I have to do this actually over and over again, and I'm not going to bore you with you watching me do it all, but I actually need to do that for all of these lines. So I select here, I select there, I select here, I select there. So I'm going to do all the horizontals, and I think what I'm going to do is show you again. See, you can sort of track where you're doing because it changes color. And I'm going to do one vertical just to kind of give you an idea. So now I'm going to select the vertical, and I want to cut it there. And select this, and I'm going to cut it there, select this. And again, you can see the same phenomena. That if I select this, it's kind of gray down here and blue there. So that means I want to cut there. And in fact, I actually want to do the edges as well. So I'll select that, that. So again, I think I'm going to pause this because you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and cut every single line at every intersection. So it's going to take me a few minutes. So let me pause it and I'll be back with you in just a moment. Okay, I think I was successful in cutting them all up. I will say that I did make a minor mistake when I was originally doing this. I wanted to easily select these lines, so I had it set for snapping to some point on line. That actually proved to be a little bit challenging later on. You really only need to have the grid and the intersection, and that way it'll assure that you're always going to be cutting it at the points. If you're successful, you should be able to select any line here, no matter where it is, and you only end up with one line. Don't worry, as you move along, if you end up having a problem, you can always go back and divide the line again. So now what I want to do is I actually want to start defining particular areas. So if I start off with this as a solid in my chessboard, and this is an empty, and this is a light, and then a dark, and a light, and a dark, and a light. What I want to do is, kind of cutting these off. I want this to be a completely enclosed square, separate from this one, and I'm going to colorize it as such. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to choose to sort of round those corners with the fillet. And then I select the first line and then the second line. Yeah, and see that? Actually, that means that one of those isn't divided. So this is an interesting point. So notice how it disappeared. So now I'm going to do is select this. That actually should have worked. Let me try it again. All right, so go to fillet, select. Well, I've got a minor problem. Let me try to cut it all the way around first. I'm going to undo that. So I'm going to cut all these around. So I want this whole square cut out. So again, remember it records the last tools you used. So I just right-clicked and I'm going to go to fillet. And I'm going to choose this one and that one. Okay, that worked great. Now I'm going to choose this one and this one. That worked great. This one and this one. Okay, we're doing well. I'm not sure what's going on here. This one and that one. Okay, I'm not sure why that wasn't working the first time out, but it's working great now. So this is now going to be a solid. This will be an empty, which means that we want this to be a solid. So I'm going to choose this one and this one. I got this weird issue going on. I'm going to choose this one and this one. Okay. This one and that one. This one and that one. This one and that one. Well, I don't really know why it gave me that little artifact, but we're going to move on. So solid, so that's going to be a dark, light, dark, light. So that makes this one a dark. So again, I'm going to start cutting it away. Okay, so dark. Okay, that makes this a light. That's going to make this one a dark. Yeah, I got that strange artifact again. So I'm going to start in this case. I'm going to go to fillet. I'm going to choose this direction. See if it fixes it. Not exactly sure why it's doing that. All right. So again, I think I'm going to do this without having you watch me do them all. What I'm going to do is every single square that's supposed to be dark, I am now going to use fillet and round the edges off. Okay? And I'm going to do that with the entire board. So let me pause it and move along and do that. I do want to show you this. This is a case where I did not cut the line sufficiently. So I was using my fillet tool. and this worked great. And then I went down here to do this one, and in this case my line disappeared here. So I undid it, Control Z. I click this line, and I see, oh shoot, I never actually divided it. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the Divide tool. I'm going to select this line, and I'm going to cut it right there. Okay, and now I can go back to my Fillet tool, select this. All right, and now succeed. So I'm going to go ahead and move on, and I'll be back with you in a minute. Okay, so I think I've successfully cut all of these into individual boxes. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these unneeded pieces on the outer edge. So I'm going to go ahead now and select, so for example, well, all of these, like that, that, and that, and that, and that. They're kind of in the way. We're going to redraw a new outer frame. Delete all of those. And move up and do these. Okay. And like I said, if you see one of my other videos, I tend to use blue as my sort of etching layer. That's what so I want to fill all of these little boxes in with blue, and I want all of these areas that are not boxed in entirely to just not be etched or cut or anything. I just want them to stay native. So I'm going to go ahead and select this hull, like so. And I'm going to go down here to Attributes, which is this one right here. And I'm going to move, I'm actually just going to change the color. I'm going to make it blue. Okay, so ultimately, in fact, we can do this real quick. Let me show you where we are, and then we'll move on. So I'm going to File. I'm going to Save As, and I want to bring this up, and I'm going to put it in my laser boards, and I'm going to call this I'll call this Demo Warp. Okay. So if I take and open up Demo Warp, okay, it's already assumed because it was blue, it's going to go ahead and etch that. And like I said before, I can right-click this and delete. So now we've got this. So now we just need to put our borders, and we're good to go. So we're nearly done. So let's go back. And I'm going to turn back on this layer, because what we want to do is we want to redraw this line. So I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to call it Border. I'm going to call it my border layer, and I'm going to make it, I'll make it like red. Okay. And again, I'm going to use my curve tool, 3-point, and I'm going to go here, and then I want to zoom in to my grid. I want to put it right there. And zoom out, so I'm reproducing essentially that first set of lines. So there, 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 all right, so now you can see I have my outer side of the board drawn out. And last but not least, actually I can cut it. If you wanted to, you could just set the red up as your cut, okay? And it's just going to cut it. But I might want to go ahead and have one more layer, which is going to be the layer that actually cuts the board out completely. You'll see that originally I had drawn a line, and then I cut it square. You can do what you want. So let's just make it up like this. I'll cut it square, and I'm going to do that by adding another layer, and I'm going to call it cutout. And then with my cutout, oops, I said let me edit that. I meant to assign it a different color. I'm going to assign it yellow. Okay. And then I'm going to choose a rectangle here. Oops. I selected the wrong tool. I'm sorry. A rectangle here to there. Okay. And file save. And now I'm going to go to RDworks. I'm going to go new. I'm not going to save that. I'm going to import it. My demo board open like that. I'm going to click on this layer here, right click it, delete it, and then all I have to do now is assign the values to these individual colors, so that way I can, it is actually there. It was a really poor choice of color, but there is in fact a yellow layer. Let me click on it so you can see it, but you probably can't see it on the screen, but there is in fact a yellow. Here, let me change it to something else. I'll change it to this sort of orangey color. Okay. And now you can see that I can assign that a particular characteristics and cut out the board. So hopefully this was informative, and again, I will see you again soon.